Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself, no lies, no sugarcoating. Are you truly heartbroken over her? Or are you heartbroken over the version of her you created inside your mind? That perfect, flawless version who never betrayed your trust, who matched your loyalty, who saw you fully and chose you fully. Because here's the truth: the version you fell in love with, that idealized image, that flawless person, she never actually existed. Deep down you already know this, but you didn't want to admit it. What you're really grieving isn't her. It's the fantasy you built around her, the illusion you carefully crafted. Every good morning text, every memory you replay, every glance you read into it wasn't love. It was a story you wrote for yourself to make sense of the pain, to make the emptiness feel like something meaningful. And now that story has ended. You're lost not because she's gone, but because the illusion shattered. This is the moment where many men crumble, not because they are weak, but because they confuse emotional chaos for connection. They think that the depth of their suffering somehow proves their loyalty, their love, their worth. It doesn't. All it proves is that they handed over their power to someone who never asked for it, didn't want it, or simply didn't deserve it. Let me tell you something that might feel cold at first, but it's liberating. She never changed. She simply stopped pretending. The version of her you fell in love with was a mask, and when that mask came off, you finally saw the real face underneath. And that real face didn't match the fantasy you held onto. That's not betrayal, that's revelation. And what you do next, that is what defines you. You can chase her, beg, drown in endless what-ifs, or you can detach emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Detachment is not apathy, it's discipline. It's the practice of stoicism, the art of control, not controlling her, but controlling yourself. You might think silence is weakness. It's not. Silence is one of the most powerful moves you can make. Not texting her back, not watching her stories, not checking her page, not responding to her. But that's not coldness, that's command. In a world full of desperate noise, your silence becomes a roar. This heartbreak, it's not the end, it's the opportunity. You don't rebuild yourself to win her back. You rebuild yourself so the next version of you doesn't break in the same place. You don't become colder, you become clearer. You don't become bitter, you become better. You stop chasing shadows and start becoming a storm, because the truth is you didn't lose her. You lost the illusion, and that loss, that pain, is actually a blessing disguised in suffering. If you're done mourning a mirage, if you're ready to face the truth, then take a deep breath, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I see through the illusion. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The illusion you loved. You didn't fall for her. You fell for what she represented. She was the placeholder for your fantasized security, passion, validation, maybe even redemption. You projected your dreams, your desires, your needs onto her face. When she smiled, you thought it meant she truly saw you, but she didn't. She was never who you thought she was. That wasn't love, that was projection. She said the right things, mirrored your energy, made you feel like you finally mattered. And that's what hurts the most when she left, not her absence, but the collapse of everything you hoped was real. Your mind clung to the version of her who understood you, supported you, stood by you. But that version only lived in your imagination. When reality hit, when her words didn't match her actions, when her warmth turned cold, it wasn't that she changed. It was that the illusion wore off, and you refused to see it because letting go of that illusion felt like admitting you were wrong, that you misjudged, that you trusted too fast, that you loved too deeply without evidence she was worthy of it. But here's where your power begins. In accepting that your pain came not from losing her, but from losing the mask you glued onto her. The woman you loved was never real. The pain you feel is real. The love you gave was real, but she was not who you thought she was. And that's okay. This realization doesn't make you weak, it makes you awake. From this point forward, you stop romanticizing lies and start respecting your own perception. Detachment begins the moment you stop clinging to what never existed in the first place. Number 2, pain is a messenger, not a master. Pain isn't the enemy, it's the spotlight. It shines a light on where your expectations broke, where your boundaries were ignored, where your self-worth was compromised. But most men mistake pain for punishment. They sit in it, drown in it, worship it like a twisted badge of honor. That's not what pain is for. Pain isn't here to break you, it's here to wake you up. She left, and it burned good. That's the signal. That's the raw, unfiltered truth your mind tried so hard to ignore. Every ache in your chest, every restless night, every time you replay her last words in your mind, those are your body and soul trying to tell you something important. You gave too much, you held on too tightly, you lost yourself trying to keep her. That was never love. That was dependency disguised as devotion. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." You're not destroyed because she's gone. You're destroyed because you believed she should have stayed. You believed she completed you, but no one completes. You complete yourself. You have to use the pain. Don't bury it or numb it with distractions. Study it, analyze it. What did it teach you about your boundaries, your patterns, your triggers? What emotional gaps did it expose? Because once you face it, once you truly understand it, the pain loses its control over you. It becomes a guide, not a master. Embrace the sting. Let it fuel your evolution, not to prove something to her, but to rise above the weakness that led you here in the first place. Pain is the price of growth. You either pay it willingly or let it break you slowly. Your choice. Number 3. She didn't betray you. She revealed herself. What you called betrayal was really exposure. She didn't suddenly flip a switch and become someone else. She just stopped hiding who she really was. The problem is you were so attached to the fantasy that when the truth came out, it felt like deception. But it wasn't deception. It was revelation. Maybe she said she loved you. Maybe she said she'd never leave. Maybe she said you were different. But words are cheap, and consistency is the only truth worth trusting. When her actions started drifting, when her energy changed, when she stopped choosing you every day, that wasn't a plot twist. That was the mask slipping. And you saw it, you just didn't want to admit it. You explained away the red flags. You made excuses for the distance. You convinced yourself that if you just held on a little tighter, things would go back to how they were. But that's the trap. Hoping a performance will return after the actor walks off stage. Here's what most men never learn. Betrayal is a gift when you're ready to see clearly. You want loyalty. Then learn to read reality, not promises. You want peace. Then stop rewriting someone's story to fit your dream. She didn't change. She emerged. And now that you've seen her, believe her. Her exit wasn't a loss, it was clarity. Now you know who she really is. Now you know what she's capable of. And now, finally, you can stop chasing the lie and start building from the truth. Number 4. Control is an inside job. The moment she walked away, you felt powerless, like your fate was in her hands, like everything you depended on her presence. Her validation, her attention was suddenly gone. That illusion of control shattered, and you were left scrambling, desperate to get it back. But here's the truth. You never had control over her. You only thought you did. Control doesn't come from managing people. Control comes from mastering yourself. Control is about owning your emotions, your reactions, your decisions. It's about creating a life so full, so meaningful, that her absence doesn't feel like an earthquake, but just a passing storm. When you control yourself, no one can take your power away. That power lives inside your confidence, your boundaries, your integrity. You don't control her, but you control how you show up in the world, how you respond, and how you rebuild. So stop chasing her approval. Stop hoping she come back and fix what's broken inside you. Fix yourself. Reclaim your power. That is the path to freedom. It comes from mastering your own mind, what you feel, how you react, where you focus. You can't stop someone from leaving. You can't force them to love you, but you can decide how much space they take up in your head. That's where real power lives, in your ability to direct your energy. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle becomes the path. Losing her feels like the obstacle, but it's really an invitation to stop outsourcing your worth and start guarding your mind. Because once you stop needing her to be anything, you stop bleeding every time she chooses someone else. She can walk away. She can forget you. She can move on. That's her right. But what she doesn't control, what nobody controls, is how you respond. You can suffer or you can sharpen. You can chase or you can rebuild. One path leads to obsession, the other to peace. You don't get peace by controlling outcomes. You get peace by owning your responses. When your emotions obey you, not her, not the past, not the fantasy, you become unshakable. That's stoic detachment. That's real control, and it starts the moment you stop handing her the keys to your sanity. Number 5. The power of emotional indifference. You might think being emotional proves how much you cared, that if she saw how broken you were, maybe she'd come back. Maybe she'd realize what she lost. But here's the truth. That flips the entire script. Desperation doesn't attract, it repels. And the more emotionally available you are to someone who disrespected your loyalty, the more power you give them. Emotional indifference isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about being in control. It means she no longer has the ability to shake your foundation. It means you don't react to her games. You don't flinch when her name comes up. You don't rage when she moves on. You don't fold when she reappears. That's not bitterness. That's strength. She expected you to crumble. She expected to still live rent-free in your head. She expected your emotional leash to stay wrapped around her fingers. So when you go silent, when you stop explaining, stop reacting, stop seeking closure, that silence hits louder than any text ever could. That's when she starts to wonder. Not because you said something, but because you didn't. Indifference becomes your shield. It tells the world, I own myself now. That kind of energy is rare. It's dangerous. It's attractive not because it's a game, but because it shows emotional discipline. And in a world full of noise, the one who controls his emotions controls the room. So stop posting for attention. Stop waiting for her to notice. Stop breaking every time she breathes in your direction. Become emotionally unbothered, because when nothing outside you can shake what's inside you, you become untouchable. Number 6. Your silence is louder than words. She expected noise arguments, closure talks, emotional confessions, a storm of feelings that would keep her relevant in your life. But when you went silent, that's when the shift happened. Not just in her, but in you. Because silence isn't weaknesses, it's a weapon, it's a boundary, it's a statement that needs no explanation. See, when you keep talking, you give her space to perform, justify, manipulate the narrative. But when you go quiet, all she hears is the echo of her own actions. Silence forces her to face herself. There's no attention to feed her ego, no reaction to fuel her drama. And in that space, she starts wondering, why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you breaking? That's the power of withdrawal. It signals you've reclaimed your frame, that you no longer need her validation, that her presence, her absence, her opinions, they don't define you. She loses her grip the moment your energy disappears. That's when regret creeps in, not because you begged, but because you vanished. And the truth is, silence also heals you. It removes you from her chaos. It gives your mind room to detox. It turns off the emotional noise so you can finally hear yourself again. You don't need closure. You need distance. You don't need a response. You need your peace. So don't announce your exit. Don't send a final message. Just disengage. Go ghost. Go internal. Let your actions do the talking. Because in the game of detachment, silence is the final word, and it always echoes the loudest. Number 7. Self-respect is the most attractive trait. She wasn't looking for perfection. She was looking for certainty. And the moment you started bending, chasing, pleading, you lost it. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you stopped respecting yourself to keep her around. And no one values what doesn't value itself. Self-respect means you don't tolerate mixed signals. You don't justify bad behavior. You don't shrink to fit someone else's comfort. When you hold the line, when you stand firm in your standards, you communicate one powerful message. I don't need you, one choose me. And that energy, that confidence, that's magnetic. People feel it when you walk in the room. When you stop asking for permission to feel worthy. When you stop negotiating your value, you reclaim your power. Because once you place yourself at the center of your own life, the people who tried to play you suddenly have no leverage. You've taken their power without ever raising your voice. She may not say it out loud, but she feels the shift. When the man who once begged her to stay now walks with composure, with discipline, with silence, that contrast hits different. Because she's not used to you choosing yourself. She's not used to seeing you detached, focused, and unavailable. You don't have to become ruthless. Just become unavailable to disrespect. You don't have to become cold. Just become clear. That's what stoic men do. They choose dignity over desperation. And in that decision, they become the type of man who doesn't chase validation because he already owns it. Number 8. The comeback is internal, not external. You think the comeback is hitting the gym, getting a new girl, flexing on social media, proving to her that you leveled up. Nope. That's surface work. That's ego rehab. The real comeback happens in the dark, alone, in silence, where there's no one to impress, just a broken man rebuilding from ground zero. This isn't about showing her anything. This is about reclaiming what you lost in yourself. Your self-discipline, your peace, your focus. That's what she took when you made her the center of your universe. But now you draw that energy back. You stop reacting to her moves and start moving on your own terms. Revenge is staying the same. Power is transformation. It's waking up at 5 a.m. when no one's watching. It's reading when you could be scrolling. It's working in silence while she's out chasing attention. It's leveling up with no need for applause. That's where stoicism lives in. Mastering your impulses, not flaunting your progress. When you detach from needing to be seen, you become dangerous because you're no longer driven by her opinion, her attention, or her regret. Your growth isn't a performance, it's a lifestyle, and by the time she notices, it'll be too late. You won't need closure, you won't want her back. You'll have outgrown everything she used to mean to you. This is your comeback, quiet, ruthless, focused, and it has nothing to do with her. It's about building a version of yourself that no heartbreak can touch again. Number 9. The scar becomes the sword. What broke you can also be what builds you if you let it. That scar on your heart. It's not weakness. It's proof you survived something that could have destroyed you. Most men try to hide their pain, act like they're fine, bury it deep. But real power comes when you look at that scar and say, this made me sharper. You don't move on by pretending you're over it. You move on by owning the damage, by turning pain into purpose. She thought she ended you, but what she really did was carve out the space you needed to evolve. Without that collapse, you wouldn't be questioning your patterns, rebuilding your mindset, rediscovering your fire. The Stoics didn't fear pain. They respected it because every scar is a teacher. Every heartbreak a classroom. You learn where you gave too much, where you stayed too long, where you lost sight of your own value. And now you use that knowledge not to protect yourself with walls, but to guard yourself with standards. Your scar isn't something to hide. It's your symbol. Your reminder that no matter who left, who lied, who walked, you're still standing. And now you're standing smarter, more guarded, more focused, not bitter, built. Every lesson she taught through her absence becomes part of the sword you now carry. So no, This pain wasn't pointless. It was preparation. The man you're becoming needed that cut, because now you bleed less. You see clearer, and next time, if there is a next time, you'll never hand over your power for the illusion of love. Again, number 10, the illusion dies. You don't. The version of you that needed her is gone. And that's a good thing. That version was dependent, emotional, confused. He lived for her approval, bent for her attention, broke at her silence. He died the moment she walked away. And that death, that was necessary because now something new is rising. This isn't about being heartless. It's about being whole. You thought she completed you. Nope, she just exposed the parts of you that were incomplete. And now that she's gone, those gaps aren't your weakness anymore. They're your blueprint. You don't fill them with another woman. You fill them with discipline, clarity, and purpose. You were chasing someone who never saw your full value because you hadn't seen it yourself. But now, you've looked in the mirror without her. You've stood in the silence. You faced the loneliness and you didn't fold. That's rebirth. That's stoic detachment in its purest form. Nothing owns you anymore, not her, not the past, not the illusion, not the old you. He begged for closure. He replayed memories. He waited for texts that never came. But youth, a man standing here now, you understand. It wasn't love that died. It was a fantasy. And with it, the weakest version of yourself burned away. So this is the final lesson. She never had the power. You gave it to her. And now you take it back, not with rage, not with revenge, but with silence, with stillness, with a mind that no longer breaks for things it cannot control. The illusion dies. You don't. You evolve. You didn't lose her. You lost the illusion, and that's the best thing that could have happened to you, because now you see clearly. You see who she was, who you were, and who you're becoming. This wasn't the end of your story. It was the start of your rise, the detachment, the silence, the rebirth. That's where your power lives now. Every section of this video was a piece of armor, a weapon, a wake-up call. You don't beg for closure anymore. You don't chase shadows. You don't look back. You walk forward with purpose, and every step is quieter, stronger, colder, and more respected. You've stopped mourning a fantasy. You've stopped waiting for someone to come back who never really showed up in the first place. You've stopped explaining your worth because you finally remembered. If you're done chasing ghosts and ready to reclaim your power, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I release what I cannot control. Welcome to Stoicism. Your detachment is your rebirth.